welcome to Fast Casual. I'm your host, Miranda Copjec, and I'm joined today with the Chief Operating Officer over at Goodberry's, Steve Weigel. I've had the pleasure of chatting with Steve multiple times and really, diving into a great work relationship with Steve. So I'm really excited to have him join our podcast, not once, but twice now. But really going to chat today around, Steve's initiatives in taking a family business and making it into a household name. So welcome, Steve, and welcome back to Fast Casual with Landon.
Thank you so much for having me. Look forward to sharing the great information around Goodberry's and what makes this brand so fantastic.
Yeah, and I know, the past 20 years at Goodberry's, they've taken like I had mentioned, a family business and working to turn it into a household name. And of course, you've had a very key part in playing across these different growth initiatives. So, as of late, I think Goodberry's have seen some incredible growth. So, would love to hear a little bit about those key strategic decisions that you've made that have really supported and fueling this expansion, and twofold, the experience that you bring to Goodberry's, which I think will do the listeners some good justice in, getting an understanding of who you are and your background and how that has worked to fuel your recent growth initiatives.
Well, yeah, thank you so much. And thank you for the kind words. This is an incredible brand, and it started back in 1988, where our founder wanted to make wholesome, pure ice cream and worked for a larger company and realized back in those times that people are putting more additives and chemicals in and actually going away from the taste to better shelf life to cheaper cost. And his thought was, let's invest all of our time and energy in making the most wholesome custard and go back to the original recipe that's in the Hall of Congress, and with only 5 ingredients: milk, cream, honey, eggs, and pure cane sugar. And that's what we've been using for 35 years now, 36 years in our mix. And what makes us very unique, which started this whole process, was it's been the foundation of never changing. And so, today our CEO is our founder's son, who has kept that vision and has really made sure that protecting the brand and that all of our ingredients, from the nuts to the fruit to any of the candies or anything else, has to be at the highest ingredients. We don't ever take a shortcut on anything. And in 2019, which started the whole growth, he decided to build a state-of-the-art creamery in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and make our own mix. And so we now produce, and every week we get a large dairy truck from one of the dairy farms and actually make every one of our own mix, make all of our own extracts that make all the different flavors of the day. Everything is in-house so we can control the quality, and the attention to detail of our team is incredible. We have probably one of the cleanest facilities I've ever seen, and our team is all focused on, if it's not perfect, it never sees the day of light. It is all around. We control everything in our warehouse. Our own trucks deliver to our restaurants. And really, that decision started this growth initiative, which they brought me on, to really say, okay, what's the next steps that we need to do? And since I've been here now, almost 2 years in November, we have streamlined all the processes. We've worked together, and it's a small team. There's 3 of us in the front office, controller, our HJ, and is our CEO, and myself. And then we have a great team that runs our warehouse and our creamery. But there's less than 10 of us, and we focused on getting all the standards in place, which they had, just now really writing them and moving them into the modern age, on emails and all the other things that you do in a small business to position yourself ready to franchise. And we've been doing that over the last year and several months, and we worked with iFranchise now to get all our franchising domestically done. We have had a franchise since 1999 opened in Australia. We had our last, we have a very great franchise owner there, and he's opened his now third location this year, first in 20 years. And everything's near Melbourne. And so Kangaroo Island was our first location over there by Kangaroo Island, if people would know the little city that it's in.
Yeah.
But that helps you on the map. And then we just opened our second location in Canberra. And Australia, for us, is very unique because one of the things that we have done since the very beginning is we flip all of our cups upside down when we hand it to somebody to show the quality and the thickness of our custard, which then just makes the first location should be down under. And so it was just kind of funny how it all worked out, that's one of our signature things way before other people got into the business of turning things upside down. We've been doing it for 36 years. And so those kind of things for us is so important, and are keeping the brand wholesome and the best. It's kind of like having the high-end premium custard, and our mix, if you wanted nothing but our mix, is one of our flavors of the day. It's that good. We start every month with that flavor. And then we add things to that mix to make all the different flavors of the day that we have. And so all of our flavors of the day have ingredients in it, and it's not just a flavor. There's, real pieces of chocolate. There's nuts. There's, whatever we say is in it is the best ever. We have lines around our building to prove it. And so for the first time, we built a prototype now. We have a restaurant under construction in Southern Pines, North Carolina. It'll be our first opening in 20 years.
Amazing.
And we're getting ready now to domestically franchise this company and bring it to every community. But what makes us so special, and wanted to share this, and I'll open it up a little bit here in a second, is the courtyard. So not only was it about let's have the most wholesome and pure ingredients, but also give the consumer an area to enjoy it in that's not heard of anymore. Right? So we have fountains, we have shade trees, where not only can you enjoy and get our great custard, but then you can sit in a courtyard where a fountain's going, in a shade, under an umbrella, and enjoy it in a nice, really serene atmosphere that you can really sit back and relax and stop worrying about everything in the world today for a little bit while you're with us, and bring joy back into your life. If you're having a stressful day, or if you're celebrating something, there's no other place better than to sit in our courtyard and enjoy it. And that is something we want to keep moving forward and make sure that we hold on to that as we grow through this and bring this incredible, not only product, but atmosphere and service model to every community in America.
Yeah, that was, I'm already envisioning I've never been to a Goodberry's. I'm up north, so hopefully you guys, that's one of your, new openings on a roadmap. Fingers crossed, bringing Goodberry's to the Philadelphia region, because I think that would be something that everybody, especially up here, would love, especially with the hustle and bustle of the cities and just that like serene, experience someplace quiet on a hot day to enjoy just some incredible custard. And I think one thing that really stood out to me is the founder's son is the CEO. So it really truly is still a family business that is going to be turned into such a household name. And I think a lot of our listeners probably, as they're beginning to, because we've got listeners that have locations that, one location that are looking to scale. They might have 5 locations looking to scale. They might have 300 locations and are still looking to grow. But I think really that family business mentality probably resonates a lot with our listeners. And they're probably thinking through ways that they can grow strategically and maintaining that family business, that caliber that comes with being on the ground, with having insight into the factories, the ingredients, the culture. So would love to hear, how, you guys are planning to, to keep that operational excellence, that caliber of ingredients, that caliber of employees, that caliber that makes, you know, you guys a family owned and operated business with multiple locations, as you guys begin to turn into a household name?
Yeah, I think, look, they have done an incredible job over that many years. And HA's mom actually ran operations. HA's dad ran the office and the all the products and everything else. So it's really very unique when you go into the scenario like this, where, you know, here I am coming from Walt Disney World, Darden, Blooming Brand, you know, all the big companies, and you step into this incredible culture where it's not like a traditional family business where there was no standards, or, you know, it's who you like and all that. They had standards, they had systems, everything was in place to really focus on guest service. The piece was, how do you then grow? How do you structure it in a way,
Exactly.
which, with my background at Darden, systems that are structured correctly give the managers time to spend with the guest and with their employees to build that culture even longer. And as you grow, how do you develop systems and strategies to develop your people? We still have our very first GM working for us. He actually was our first custard maker, so he goes around certifying everybody, because that knowledge and his history and his you know, talking about, you know, the founder's, you know, wife, going around and making sure everything's right, is so unique to share. And I only say, I look at that as like my time at Darden, where I actually met Bill Darden, and he spoke to me, and he spent time. And Jolie, our first CEO, would come in and talk to me and do all those things and share the stories that made me truly understand the brand. And for us, it's, you know, you have the best product that's out there in the market today.
Yeah.
But adding incredible service model that when you're sitting out and you're in a fast casual format, managers don't come outside and check on you and make sure you're okay. They're not listening to what's happening in your life that day. You know, the first question we want to always ask is, how is your day going? Because from that, we'll understand, is there ways that we can make it even better? Is there ways that we can do something small on our side, even though it might be only 3 minutes long that you're standing in our window? But what can we do to bring a little bit more happiness into your life? And that's the unique difference between Goodberry's and everybody else, where it's just a transaction in most places. We want it to be a memory and a moment in your life that if you're having a tough day, we made it better. Or if you're having a great day, we make it even better, right? By celebrating with you or being there with you. And so those are things that to us is very around culture and keeping it, as you said, like a family business, but yet still run it like an organization that someone's excited to join and, you know, invest their money and their time and their effort to grow something very special on themselves, you know, for their family, for their long-term success as, you know, entrepreneurial operators and owners.
It sounds like to me, which I think is something I've never thought of when chatting with operators, is being transactional in where it matters, but not where it doesn't matter. So not being transactional with people, not being transactional with culture, but obviously having systems in place that allow you to not be transactional with those people, to not be transactional with culture, to really ensure that, you know, your operations are streamlined so that the general managers can focus on asking the employee, the customer, how is your day? Focus and spend time with each employee so that the corporate mindset trickles down to the store level. And it's crazy, you know, I love that you had mentioned like what your time at Darden, like, you know, having the opportunity to sit down with essentially the founder. And when I think of Darden, I could never imagine, you know, a time where Darden might have only been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations. Now they're, you know, the household name, and it's crazy, you know, how much they've grown, and, you know, how you've taken that and it stuck with you, and you know how you can implement that in these early stages over at Goodberry's.
Yeah, and I think, as I look at the news today, I started at Red Lobster and meeting Bill Darden and all the people. And there was only we only had one concept. Olive Garden was just getting going, and we were the breadwinner of the company. But it's people lose sight. And what's great about having someone like HJ, when you have somebody that's that close to where it was always been, right? And it's protecting not only the brand but the family, right, name that started it. I think there's a different way of managing. There's a different way of leadership. There's a different way that our franchisee that we have today and the new ones that will join us will be treated, because it's very important for us to make sure that there's never failure, that there is never an opportunity that someone's not taken care of, or some franchise owner that starts with us, that we have so much knowledge, not only HJ on the side of the product and the history and all that, but for me, coming from all these larger companies, how to scale, how do you take one restaurant and get to 3, right? What guidance can we give and help to make them even more successful? And I think it's always rooted on them finding the right people to run their restaurants. And at the end of the day, Darden, all the large companies, everyone that's successful finds the right people to do the right jobs. And sometimes it's the right person in the wrong job, or the wrong job for the right person, right? And you have to kind of play with the chessboard to find the right pieces, but it comes down to someone has hospitality in their heart.
Yeah.
And when you have leaders running operations, or as a CEO of a company that's a restaurant business or anything in the hospitality business, doesn't have it in their heart, it's really hard for that to resonate to the frontline person, why they should go out of their way, especially these days, to take care of somebody they don't know.
And how do you find people that have it in their heart? Like, what is a characteristic that you look for, or that your general managers look for, when hiring? Like, what would be a characteristic that like would really be like, this person has it, and this, what is it that you're looking for?
Well, it's interesting because there's so many different ways people hire today.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many of this computer, where employees don't know how to put things together, and, filling out applications is something old now. And so, but I'll take a step back. I'll think about 30 years ago when I first started managing restaurants, a long time ago. And I remember having taken over this one restaurant where I was told, there's no way you're going to hire people. These young kids today, and I was young, they don't know how to work. And, then I think 15 years from there, in a large company like Red Lobster, or being in an area part of the country, we can never find good people. These people today, they just don't know how to work. And so anybody that's been in the hospitality business for a very long time, it's never changed. There's always people saying they can't find good people. That's because how you find good people changes over the time frame, right? In the beginning, you had to sit down and talk to people a little bit longer and get to know them. Nowadays, with systems like Landed, you have a way for it to help the general manager not spend all their time looking at applications and going through all that, but you're also able to give questions that puts the right candidate in front of them. Again, as I get back to streamlining their time, to spend more time with the people they do hire and spend more time with the guest, and not feel like there's always this time where I have to look at applications. I got to do all this other stuff. Having someone set up for an interview already when you already set it for your week, so you're teaching them how to plan. By doing those kind of things, you give that individual, that general manager, time to look at their candidate, and time to understand that they're looking for people that have the heart for hospitality, not just showing up for a job. And that's the difference these days. There's always been people that just want money. That's never
Yeah.
changed. It's not the youth. It's not the year we live in. It's going to be that way 10 years from now. And the system to hire people will be different 10 years from now. But that's the only thing that changes is people get stuck in the same systems, and those systems
Hmm.
become antiquated over time, and that they don't work anymore. And that
Yeah.
you got to constantly be looking at what's the next way of hiring the best talent. And then from that, then how do you create the culture to keep that talent? And how do you make them feel, no matter how big the business is, how do you still write thank you cards? How do you still send birthday wishes? How do you still celebrate anniversaries? And we do all that. But I did that when I ran 350 restaurants at Red Lobster.
Yeah.
There's no difference. It's just the leader taking the time to understand how important it is to write a note, to, for us, we have a lot of college students, so we also give them a free pie on their birthday because we know they're away from home. We know they might not be able to make it back home. And however we can give them some sort of connection. And what if they're working really hard in school and they have no friends that remember their birthday, right? But we did, and it matters. And I think that's the difference in society today is everyone's so busy that those small things sometimes don't matter as much. You might check well, Facebook's getting old now, so whatever the new avenue they are communicating to see how many friends said happy birthday to you, but no one actually said it live. They might have typed it or pressed the button that said happy birthday, and not even typed it themselves. And so I think those human touches make us a brand that as we move forward and we become a household name, that we're a brand that stays wholesome, it stays pure to really caring about the people that work for us.
Yeah, and I want to preface this for our listeners. Obviously, this is the Fast Casual podcast hosted by Landed, but a lot of our guests are not necessarily Landed customers. I mean, this podcast is used for thought leadership so that we can continue to grow, continue to learn. Throughout different what other businesses are doing, what market trends look like, growth initiatives, and really give our listeners some insight into an educational background into the evolving world of hospitality. So I want to let our listeners know, like, the first time we chatted, Steve, the first time you were on our podcast, you were not a Landed partner, and now so grateful for Goodberry's partnership. Absolutely love that we can be with you as you guys grow and be along for this ride. And I know that you had mentioned, streamlining. You had mentioned looking into tools, and you've taken, a modern approach, especially implementing the Landed platform. So I guess, like, would love to hear, like, what you've noticed so far with some of those key differences, especially as you guys have begun to implement more like modern tools into the process.
Yeah, and for true transparency, it took us a while to get going. It was that, here we are, a very small business. How do we get going in it? And we had to get our systems up to speed, and teach our people. And again, you're going from paper, from old school, where some GMs wouldn't hire if you didn't bring a pencil in, or a pencil seems wrong anymore, a pen, or how people, what they were wearing. And I was amazed that even today, younger general managers, these are not people that have been around for a long time, had that kind of mindset. And it made you understand that you can have the best systems, which Landed is one of the best systems out there, but if you don't integrate it correctly, if you don't teach it correctly, you're not going to get everything that you want from it. And having a customized system, which we have today, where each GM can work with you, Landed representative, and dial it in to exactly that person we're looking for. Either it's a custard person or it's a cashier, and that personalities might be a little bit different. But we can then really focus in on the person. And since I spent the whole year going backwards in time. Working for large companies, you have, you have iPads, you have, systems where applications at least come in, not paper forms. You're not on all the web pages yourself, putting everything down and writing all this stuff. And so it was a step back in time for me to realize, wow, this is, I'm going through 50 people and 2 people show up. And oh, by those 50 people, I have no cutoff. So I'm actually talking to people that I probably shouldn't be talking to, because there's no way for me to understand how to do this. So what I realized, even in a small business, time is the only thing you have that can change the outcome of a business. The more time you put in the early days, the much stronger company you have in the later days. By having the right systems built, which take you time, which takes, the thought process of connecting everything. We're going, okay, as it comes into the system, what do we have? We had fax machines. We were faxing applications to people, and they were faxing the paperwork back to us, and we got iPads and we got other things to streamline it. We're now with the landed system that the applications go to the landed. We have a sheet on the window, that barcode that someone just gets on their phone. They go and do the application. We would get hundreds of applications a day. And we do background checks on every single person, because we have a small business and we have a small area that people are working on. We want to have only the best people that work for us. And we had a lot of people that just weren't in the hospitality business. And I will tell you, since then, out of 1 out of 3 interviews, we're hiring. And it might be even better than at some points. We just hired 2 incredible general managers, one for our new location, one from our existing restaurant. And it was like our second interview, and then we found the home run. And so those numbers, compared to before, where it was 50 to 60 applicants, 50 to 60 phone calls, 15 face-to-face interviews, that's a huge amount of time back in the organization that can be put to getting to know your guests more, getting to know your people. And our retention rate on the people we have hired is through the roof. Now, I don't have the exact number yet. As we're finishing our summertime, we'll run those numbers. But I will tell you, it's a game changing for us as a small business. And I know it seemed very unusual when I brought it up originally to tell my team. I'm like, oh, no, trust me. This will save us time. This will be great. I think this is the right thing to do. But also that when you think about the time and the energy and the people, the most important thing is that the outcome of the guests. Our ratings have gone up. Our people we have is happier. The atmosphere in the restaurants are better, because that churn is not there. Our best people were tired of people coming in and not working really hard. And, that takes a toll on the people that you already have in the organization. And you don't really realize that until you have a solve to that.
This is music to my ears. And I know when I was originally introducing the theme of this episode, we were, it was centered around, turning a family business into a household name. And through this conversation, I feel like an emerging theme that at least has sparked a light bulb in my mind is, at the end of the day, a business, it's, whether it's 1 location, 5 locations, 500 locations, and it's what you put into everything that you're going to get out of it. Whether that be your people, whether that be your operations, whether that be landed to that point that you made. It's like, we can have this system in place, but if we don't, utilize it correctly, if we don't put the time into it, then we're not going to get what we want out of it. And that's the same with your people, your operations, your efficiency, your product. It really comes down to the energy that you put into the things around you that ultimately drive the results that you're looking for. And I feel like that's a massive learning for our listeners as they think through how they might want to scale their businesses. Even if they're a listener that doesn't own a hospitality company, but they're just a business owner. They just love listening to the hospitality insights. And I think there's a lot that people can get out of this episode. And I think I've at least gotten a lot out of this episode, and I'm really excited for this to go live. And I think looking ahead, what does the future hold for Goodberry's? I know it's going to be a household name, and I'm going to be honored to say that I was along for the ride with this. But like, what's in store? New markets, product innovations, operational enhancements. I guess, give us some insight into what we can look forward to.
Yeah, I will tell you, it's unique because we are taking an industry that's so old and so simple, and we're constantly tweaking it and upgrading it to provide faster service, to find the sweet spot of that there is no defects ever, right? And it's a simple business. So it's a simple business model, but at the same time, if I can have a franchise owner open a brand new shop, and within that first week or the first 2 days, they were already achieving results that most companies, you never go to a restaurant in the first week it's open, right? You're expecting it not to be a great experience. You might go because you love the product, but you just know it's not going to be something that you're going to remember. They're going to say we should give them a couple months and then we'll go, right? And so what we want to do is be able to shorten that as fast as we can to even the day we open, that there is no defects, that we can do things so perfect for our guests and for those memories, because sometimes people are passing through, they might be the only time they try your brand. You might bring somebody, if you're in North Carolina, to our brand, which we get a lot, that they're there for 2 days. It's a relative from up north or in the West, and they've been told about this incredible experience they're going to have. And we want to make sure we deliver on it. It's almost, when my day at Walt Disney World, when I worked there, I used to always be told, look, some people might come here once in their life. That once in their life has to be perfect. You get no second chances. People have saved up their whole lives to come to this. And then I realized, starting out at Red Lobster, it was no different. In every concept, there's people that might be saving their time and their money to come to that location to celebrate something, and it could be their one time out that year. And to me, the way the economy is and everything in the world today is those moments that you spend with your friends, your families, or even maybe to treat yourself, that's something you can't get back. And the more we put emphasis into that with our teams, that detail, perfection, making it right, doing everything, the better that window gets for everybody. And for us right now, the growth, we're excited to domestically franchise. We've been getting calls, again, I've been now 2 years. We get calls every week that somebody wants to franchise our business. And for 36 years, we said no to domestic franchising because we wanted to control it and they wanted to get it right. And, making it right for the first person, and we practice, right? We have a franchise in Australia. How far away can we possibly put a franchisee and be successful for that many years that they're opening another shop?
Yeah.
And probably would have opened up more over those years if we didn't go through the downturn and everything else that's happened in the world, the pandemic. But look, if we can make that right and we can be successful, then opening somebody else in North Carolina is pretty simple. The key to us is we want to make sure that everything they touch, everything they see is world class. That this is not a mom and pop, here's your little pamphlet. We hired the best people with iFranchise to help us with our operational manuals and everything else to make sure everything is perfect, to get the marketing correct, to make sure that the cost behind it is correct, that the return on investment is the best in the industry. Everything we can do to do it right. And in the world today, there's so many opportunities to franchise. Big companies, that sometimes you're the 1,000th franchisee, and yeah, you might be at a conference. Somebody might know you, but everyone doesn't know you. For us, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for someone to get on the bottom floor of a company that's going to be known forever.
Yeah, I think that's So you heard it here first. You heard it here first, listeners. You know, you guys are gonna see a Goodberry's on every street corner. I'm really glad, Steve, that we were able to chat today. I'm even more honored to be along on this incredible ride with you. Really excited to see everything that happens for Goodberry's. Really excited to see what the future holds, and I know that it's going to be bright, and it's just super exciting. So I really appreciate you joining us today, and especially for your second episode. So I'm really honored to have had you on this this podcast twice.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm delighted to be not only able to share about Goodberry's, but also tell you about the great things that your team has done for us.
Amazing. Well, we couldn't have done it without the work that you guys helped put into getting set up and making sure the implementation was smooth. So I'm very again honored to be on this ride with you.
Well, thank you so much.